Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a literal David versus Goliath story. It's a fierce battle over public space, the crushing pressures of overtourism, and, well, an island. We're going to look at how a tiny, completely abandoned piece of land became the ultimate symbol for a grassroots resistance, a group of everyday people trying to literally buy back their city's heritage.
So let's kick things off with a pretty massive question, one that really challenges how our modern cities are owned and operated. What actually happens when everyday citizens decide, you know what, we've had enough of privatization, and they try to buy back their city piece by piece? I mean, it sounds like the plot of a heist movie, right? But it's exactly what unfolded in one of the most famous tourist destinations on Earth. And here is our battleground. This is Poveglia. It's a 7.5-hectare, totally abandoned island nestled right there in the southern Venetian Lagoon. For decades, this place, which used to be a sanatorium and even a 16th-century defensive battery, just sat empty. It was slowly being reclaimed by nature. But recently, this seemingly forgotten little speck of land became the absolute epicenter of a massive fight for civic self-determination.
Section 1. Venice's island-grabbing trend. Now, to really understand why this specific island matters so much, we first need to zoom out. We need to look at the macro trend that's completely transforming the Venetian Lagoon.
The absolute crucial concept we need to grasp here is called island grabbing. Now, you might have heard of land grabbing before, but in Venice, this is a highly specific, very real political and economic maneuver. Basically, it's the process where cash-strapped local governments sell or lease out public spaces to luxury commercial interests. Massive actors in the tourism sector just swoop in and literally grab these minor islands, permanently removing them from public use.
Because of this, we're seeing two starkly contrasting destinies playing out in the water. It's almost like a fork in the road. On one hand, you have public restorations. Think of islands like San Servolo or Certosa, which were saved from degradation and converted into public parks or university campuses for everyone to use. But on the other hand, we have the counter-trend, private luxury takeovers. Islands are being rebranded and completely transformed into exclusive Kempinski or Marriott resorts. It's literally the consumption of island spaces, turning them into these exclusive pleasure peripheries just for the wealthy.
Which brings us to Section 2, the battle for Poveglia.
Okay, so how did this conflict actually go down? Let's look at the timeline. Back in December 2013, the Italian State Property Office was trying to chip away at the national debt, so they approved a 99-year lease for Poveglia. Fast forward to March 2014, and an online auction goes live. A local businessman, who, fun fact, would later actually become the mayor of Venice, bid 500,000 euros for it. But the Venetians, they mobilized. They formed an association, crowdsourced their very own 500,000 euros, and effectively blocked the acquisition. It was a huge win. But after years of legal back and forth, the state kind of retaliated. In 2018, they banned the public from the island entirely.
Section 3, Poveglia for everyone, or as they say in Italian, Poveglia per tutti. Now, the sheer power of collective action here is just staggering. I mean, how did a bunch of everyday people actually block a wealthy businessman's bid? One word, crowdsourcing. The association asked for a mere €99 entry fee. Just 99 euros. And within months, 4,000 citizens and global sympathizers chipped in, amassing €500,000. This gave them the actual financial leverage they needed to compete in the public auction and completely freeze the privatization process.
And the raw human element of this movement was absolutely undeniable. You'd see these hand-painted banners in the crowd that translated their core message so perfectly. Privatization of everything equals deprivation of everyone. Because for these citizens, Poveglia wasn't just prime real estate. It was a beloved peri-urban park. It was a place where generations of families went boating and swimming. Selling it off didn't just mean losing an island. It meant fundamentally depriving the entire community of its right to exist and play in its own city.
As the movement kept growing, Poveglia began to function as a synodich. Now, that's a bit of a fancy literary term, but basically, it's a figure of speech where a small part represents the whole. The island became this perfect microcosm, condensing the entirety of Venice's struggle with overtourism into one spot. This whole fight, it wasn't just about preserving 7.5 hectares of land. It was about actively resisting the tourist monoculture that was literally pushing everyday residents out of the historic center. Poveglia was, without a doubt, their line in the sand.
Section 4, the right to the islands.
But here's the thing. This isn't just a Venice problem. All around the world, communities are stepping up and asserting this right to the island. Just look at Spain. Grassroots groups there successfully blocked luxury developments on the islands of Cabrera and Sadraganera and actually got them declared natural parks. Over in Scotland, the literally six remaining residents of Ulva launched a community buyout under the Land Reform Act to save their home. And in Denmark, they are literally building a public artificial floating parkapelago. It's incredible. From the Mediterranean to the Hebrides, everyday people are proving that these water spaces belong to the public.
Section 5. A feasible utopia.
So what's the end goal here? Well, these activists don't just want an abandoned island to sit there and stay abandoned. They envision what they call a feasible utopia. They view the island as a fluid habitation possibility. Basically, a flexible, polyfunctional space that could host an ecological park, neighborhood horticulture, or even summer concerts. In a city where mass tourism has kind of turned the water into nothing more than a scenic backdrop for selfies, these citizens want the agency to actively design their own urban future. Right now, Poveglia's ultimate destiny is still sitting in this frustrating bureaucratic limbo. But honestly, this whole story leaves us with a truly powerful thought. Even if their final utopian project is never fully realized, perhaps the true victory has already been won. I mean, does the very act of fighting for an island, of 4,000 people coming together to claim a shared horizon, does that become our most powerful tool for civic self-determination? It's a profound question, and it forces us to rethink community, memory, and the entire future of our public spaces. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.